What is the question, Mr. Chair?
Are you rebuking this committee?
Why am I supposed to rebuke the committee? I am
You
not.
have been saying things for a while.
What?
You have been rebuking this committee.
You're saying that.
We're not blaming the Vice President on this.
I asked
Honorable
the question.
Marcoleta, we
I asked
are
the
not
question. You do not have
blaming
the right to
What's up mga kababayan, news that matters here. Dito sa video natin ngayon ay ating bigyang highlight itong nangyaring sagutan sa pagitan ni Congressman Dante Marcoleta at itong hudas na pastor di umano na si Kong Abante. Tila'y napintig itong tenga ni Congressman Marcoleta sa pagsingit nitong si Abante sa kanyang winikang manifestation sa loob ng committee na hindi na malingit sa ating kaalaman na pinaglalaban ang karapatan ng OVP nitong si Kong Marcoleta na siyang tila'y minasama nitong buhayang pastor at makikita dito na dinuduro-duro pa at pinagtatawanan itong si Kong Dante. Grabe naman yan. Pero bago ang lahat mga kababayan, huwag niyo po sana kalimutang mag-like at subscribe para updated ka sa mga uploads ko araw-araw. At yun na nga no mga kababayan, ating bigyang highlight itong winika ni VP Sara sa harap ng kamera na never again sa mga Marcoses na ni isa wala na siyang dadalhin na pangalan na may kaugnayan sa mga bangag.
Colonel, never again na to meet with the Marcoses. Oh, never again.
Ulitin natin.
Never again na to meet with the Marcoses. Oh, never again.
At yun na nga no mga kababayan, narinig natin mula sa bibig mismo ni VP Sara na wala na talagang kapag-asa. Lalo na't nakikita naman natin na walang utang na loob ang mga Marcoses sa mga Duterte. Namantakin nyo yun na tila'y ginamit lamang ang mga Duterte noong panahong eleksyon at ngayon puro party, puro sarap buhay sila sa loob ng Malacanang. Kung kaya naman sana mga kababayan sa paparating na eleksyon sa taong 2025 magkaisa tayo na straight vote natin ang mga dadalhin ng mga Duterte. Lalo na itong si Congressman Dante Marcoleta. Kung kaya naman hindi ko na patatagalin pa, ito na ang buong video.
And I wish to thank the Honorable Valeriano for taking a stand before the plenary to initiate this inquiry in aid of legislation to address the observation not only of this representation, but of our fellow members of the Committee on Appropriations about the irregularities which we have seen already in the disbursement of fund. As a matter of fact, not only of the confidential fund, but even the regular allocation of the OVP. With that, Mr. Chair, may I proceed to my question for the COA? Kanina
Yes.
po,
But after your lengthy manifestation, you have already
Mr. Chair.
consumed 4
just
minutes.
one question,
Mr.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair,
Just one question.
Yes, the Honorable Marcoleta.
may I offer a counter manifestation, Mr. Chair?
Later po, 1 minute na lang po siya and then
Kasi
I will
baka
recognize.
makalimutan yung continuity yung flow ng discussion. I'd like to ask only, Mr. Chair, by way of manifestation, is there anybody who is questioning the power of the purse of Congress? Is there anybody who is questioning the legislative function and oversight function of Congress? Is there? Because if there is none, then we are not supposed to overextend the discussion or any manifestation because nobody is questioning that. And I think nobody could question that. Even the privileged speech of the Honorable Valeriano. I think the proper question there, the proper title is not asserting the power of the purse. We should not assert it because that power is inherent in us. Asserting or not asserting that power is of no moment. Yun po ay birthright. Yun po is inherent right of Congress. And let me make of record, the office of the Vice President, to my mind, did not undermine the power of the purse. When she personally came in the first hearing and presented herself, including the budget by way of a PowerPoint presentation, she made a presentation, Mr. Chair. And after that, she made a categorical statement that she said, I forgo, Madam Chair, I forgo my opportunity to defend the budget of the office of the president by way of question and answer, and instead I leave it to the discretion of the House of Representatives on their decision to decide on the proposal as presented. This is a very respectful answer. Mr. Chair, I did not find any offensive remark in that particular statement. She gave the entire House of Representatives the entire discretion and the entire right to decide on the proposal she presented before us. Why would we blame her for saying that she disrespected Congress? No, sir. I think it was triggered by the fact that questions were asked in relation to the confidential and intelligence funds. To my mind, Mr. Chair, these particular funds were subjected to a notice of disallowance. But the notice of disallowance by its nature, by its very nature, Mr. Chair, is contestable. It is appealable. It is yet to be explained. And initially, as explained by the representative of COA, the notice of disallowance suffered by way of supporting documents, by way of non-compliance with certain requisites. What if the Vice President is able to provide all the supporting documents? What if finally she is able to come up with the requisites required in order for you to consider that
Correct.
all these funds are eventually allowable and they are not disallowed? And chances are she may be able to do that. Hindi po final judgment ang notice of disallowance. As a matter of fact, based on COA's own representation the other day, the Vice President received the notice of disallowance only on August 24, 2024, which means, Mr. Chair, the Vice President has 6 months within which to reply and make an answer. That is correct, Madam COA. So, 6 months is up to February 2025. We should give her all the allowance. We should give her the time because 6 months is 6 months. So why are we rushing to make a judgment? As a matter of fact, as I have already initiated earlier, Mr. Chair, when you said that anything we can discuss in this committee provided it is of public interest, and you said that intelligence funds and confidential funds are public interest, but I said because of our own rules, we should make a prior and preliminary determination that is directly and principally connected to malfeasance, misfeasance, or non-feasance. We have not made that determination. How can we now begin questioning whether or not the intelligence funds covered by an initial notice of disallowance is already directly and principally connected with non-feasance or misfeasance or malfeasance? Madam COA, how many agencies of government today are subjected to notice of disallowance? Do you have a number? How many agencies today?
With all due respect to the
Before I,
Honorable
But that is a question I will leave, and I will
Yes.
terminate
But-
my manifestation, Madam.
Yes, but I will. I
believe,
would like
Mr.
to
Chair, that
respond.
this is still my time.
Yes, but I would like to respond to your manifestation, Congressman Marcoleta.
Parliamentary
Let
inquiry,
me-
Mr. Chair. Parliamentary inquiry
What is the
muna.
parliamentary inquiry of
I
the
would
Honorable
like to
Abante?
ask the Honorable Marcoleta, is he rebuking this committee?
What is the question, Mr. Chair?
Are you rebuking this committee?
Why am I supposed to rebuke the committee? I am
You
not.
have been saying things for a while.
What?
You have been rebuking this committee.
You are
We're
saying
not,
that?
we're not blaming the Vice President on this.
I
Honorable
asked the
Marcoleta,
question.
we
I asked
are
the
not
question. You do not have
blaming
the
the-
right to
One
demand
minute,
that.
one
Move
minute
to
suspension,
suspend.
Mr. Madam Chair.
Move to suspend.
Lakas makapanduro nitong Abante ah. Ito yung pastor na nadadawit sa pagkabuhaya eh. Patawa-tawa pa sa mga pinanggagawa nitong mga pulpul na kongreso, mapaghalataan kung gaano katapang ang isang congressman Dante Marcoleta na ipaglaban ang karapatan ng Office of the Vice President. Kaya sana talaga humabol sa pagka-senado itong si Kong Dante at ating ipanalo sa laban na iyon. Dahil isa siya sa mga kailangan ng taong bayan sa pagkakaroon ng pagbabago. Lalo na't kamukha niyan, maraming mga pulpul na politiko. At isa na nga itong si Abante na nasabi pa namang pastor pero ganyan kung umasta at makapanduro sa kanyang kapwa. Grabe talaga. Patawa-tawa pa Ating i-fast forward mga kababayan dahil matagal-tagal pa to.
Conducted to carry out a legislative purpose. What we are doing right now is we are doing our mandate. This hearing is in aid of legislation. So wala pa naman po tayong inaakusahan dito. The fact that the issue is still with COA and is still pending appeal, it does not stop this committee from conducting an inquiry in aid of legislation to conduct or to carry out our legislative purpose. So, yun lamang po. With this, I would like to give the... Ilang minuto pa po? Ma'am, you still have 1 more minute.
Mr. Chair, in response to the Honorable Marcoleta, this representation did not say that the OVP is questioning the power of the Congress. However, Mr. Chair, I wish to state for the record, how else will you interpret her refusal to answer? How else will you interpret her refusal to take an oath? I think, Mr. Chair, the only reasonable interpretation on her gestures is that she refused to participate in the investigation or inquiry in aid of legislation that we are conducting. Secondly, Mr. Chair, about the notice of disallowance, we take cognizance of the fact that this is not yet final and executory. As a matter of fact, the COA commented that the OVP has a period of 180 days, equivalent to 6 months to solicit to make an appeal for the purpose of seeking for a possible reversal of the ND. However, Mr. Chair, kapag ba may ND, bawal na bang malaman ito ng publiko? Kapag ba may ND, bawal na bang imbestigahan ito? And it is on this light that I invoke that public office is a public trust, and at all times, we are accountable to the Filipino people. In response to his comment about the possibility of the ND being reversed, I think I made a manifestation already in the last budget briefing of the DepEd. If in the event that the ND is reversed, in spite of having this inquiry already, the COA is not precluded. The COA is not prevented from sharing to the Filipino people that the OVP was able to justify, and therefore we are reversing the ND. In conclusion, Mr. Chair, I wish to emphasize that there is no law which prevents the Congress, which prevents the COA from discussing, deliberating on the subject matter of the notice of disallowance. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can I still have a question?
I will give you 1 minute.
Para lang po sa understanding ng mga Pilipino, pwede po bang pakidistinguish in layman's term? Confidential fund from regular fund in 2 aspects. One is procurement, second is liquidation. Because we've been discussing about CF, confidential fund. The question is, naiintindihan ho ba tayo ng mga Pilipinong mamamayan? Now, I think it's high time for us to explain, COA, ano po ba ang diferensya o pagkakaiba? Confidential from regular with respect to one is procurement and second is liquidation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
COA, any representative from COA? Yes, Attorney Camora.
As to the confidential fund, it refers to a lump sum amount provided to NGAs, LGUs, and COBs for their confidential expenses, which expenses pertain to or are related to surveillance activities in civilian government agencies that are intended to support the mandate or operations of the agency. The audit of the confidential fund is based on the
Can we explain on the process of procurement or disbursement? You said it is a lump sum fund. May procurement process po ba kapag confidential fund?
since it involves confidential activities,
There is none.
there is no procedures on
No
procurement.
compliance to procurement law is necessary for confidential fund.
Yes,
There
Madam
is no
Chair.
posting, there
Mr.
is
Chair.
no bidding. Tama po ba?
Tama po, Mr. Chair.
And with respect to the regular fund, we have to comply. In other words, the law on procurement and bidding has to be followed. Tama po?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Yes po, tama po.
Yes. Now let's go to liquidation. Ano pong diferensya ng confidential fund with the regular fund in terms of liquidation?
Mr. Chair, yung sa liquidation ng confidential fund is provided for under the joint circular. So, hindi po necessary na sinusunod namin yung sa regular fund.
Summary and in layman's term, ma'am, how